everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're making some spinach stuffed chicken breast. As you can see here, I have all of my ingredients. You can find this online on the lowcarblife.com. She has this recipe there. I have some fresh Parmesan cheese. So let's get ready to start cooking. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and preheat my oven to 375 degrees. And I'm going to go ahead and start prepping the seasoning for the chicken. So one thing that we do here is, of course, on a lot of recipes, they sometimes have the word divided on there. Now, I usually just put half of whatever is called for. So, for example, they called for 1 teaspoon of salt. So I'm going to put half of that teaspoon in there. So that's like 1/4 of a teaspoon. I'm going to put in the seasoning and I'm going to save the other 1/4 for another portion of the chicken. So when it says divided, I usually just cut it in half and save it for later. Okay, so here comes one of the best parts of cooking: seasoning. It's so important to make sure that you're seasoning your meats, you're seasoning your food well, because that's what really brings out the flavors and really enhances your meal. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to rub that olive oil into my chicken breasts. One thing that my dad always used to tell me when I was younger and I was learning how to cook was cook with love. People will know if you're cooking with a kind of bad attitude or with a sour attitude. So cook with love, because you could tell in your food when you did and when you didn't cook with love. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sprinkle that seasoning onto my chicken. It's got that paprika in there, so the paprika will make it look really nice and red and give it a kind of smoky flavor. So go ahead and coat your chicken front and back with your seasoning. Okay, next we're going to go in and we're going to make those cuts so that we can stuff that cream cheese and delicious spinach filling inside of it. Now on this first chicken breast, I think I cut a little bit too much on a downward motion instead of a horizontal motion. So I ended up with a little bit of a hole in the bottom. Didn't make a difference. The food is still delicious. But if you want it to be more of a pocket, make sure you're cutting horizontal instead of vertically. Okay, my friends, take this as a lesson. As a mother and as a human being in general, sometimes we tend to get sidetracked with things around us and we don't follow directions. By we, I mean me. So here, I put the entire little canister of cream cheese in my bowl. And thank God I read my directions and I realized, oh my gosh, I only need 4 ounces. I don't need 12 ounces of cream cheese. So I went ahead and I took out 4 ounces and I put it in my little measuring cup to make sure I had the right amount. And then I took the rest of it and I put it back. So just take it from me, like, double check your recipe, triple check your recipe. It doesn't hurt. All right, now I'm going in and I'm starting to create that delicious filling for the chicken. Go ahead, put your cream cheese in there, make sure it's the right amount, And then go in with your Parmesan cheese. I went ahead and I used fresh Parmesan because I had it in my fridge, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't matter if you use Parmesan cheese that's already grated and ready to go, if it's fresh, or if it's even the craft Parmesan. As long as you have it, use it. Use what's in your kitchen. Don't go way out of the way for a recipe. Use what you have available. Now the next thing I'm going in with is my spinach. So my neighbor Marlo came over with some spinach, and at the time I had no idea what to do with it. It was a lot, it was really beautiful, it was ready to go, but I wasn't ready to use it. So I froze it, and it came right in handy for this recipe. So I went ahead and I just used what frozen spinach I had in there and put it in there. Now, looking back, I would definitely, if you're going to use frozen, drain it, squeeze that water out of it, cut it up in those tiny pieces so that you have bite-sized pieces, but drain it before you go in and you put it in there. Now you remember that divided salt we had from before when we were making our seasoning? Now's the time to put the rest of that salt inside of your stuffing for your chicken. Don't forget about it, it still needs to be used. Listen, this garlic press made me realize that the strength in my hands is not what it used to be. I need to do some kind of hand workout to get my strength back up because, man, it was hard to get that garlic out of that press. Okay guys, don't judge me. I have this red pepper flake packet from Marco's Pizza. I don't use red pepper flakes enough to go buy some, and it's just gonna go bad if it goes in my cabinet, my spice cabinet. So I scrounged it up from our drawer and it worked perfect. I didn't have to go out and buy something that I know I wasn't going to use that often, and I got rid of that tiny little packet that's been floating around in my drawer. Tip that will save you time and save you so much hassle. When you're baking, line it with some parchment paper or some foil. Line that pan because then it makes cleanup 10 times easier. So I would highly recommend it. That was my last little bit of parchment paper, but the cleanup afterwards was so much easier. All right, it's time. Let's stuff those little babies with that delicious filling. I kind of was afraid that I put too much, but don't be scared. Put as much as you want in there. That mayo that's went inside of that cream cheese is going to make the inside of your chicken nice and moist. So don't be skimpy on it. Fill it up. Be great with it. The recipe originally calls for 4 chicken breasts, but my chicken breasts were so big I just went ahead and used 2. So go for it. Don't be scared. My parchment paper was a little long, so I kind of snipped off the edges just because I don't want it to be touching all over the oven. And then as soon as I snipped off those side edges, I stuck it right into the oven and put it on for a good 30 minutes. And it did so well in there. It didn't come out dry at all. Okay, now my side. I went ahead and I chose potatoes to go with my stuffed chicken. This is my first time ever making something that had a vegetable and a protein together, as well as a dairy aspect, so I wasn't 100% sure on what to make for sides, but I did want it to be filling, so I was like, what else could be good and filling than potatoes? So I went ahead and got my potatoes and peeled them and got them ready for mashed potatoes. Okay, now I needed to wash them, so one did fall on the floor, but hey, I went to go wash it, so it's good to go. One thing that my mom taught me when I was growing up, and she was the main chef in our kitchen, chef, cook, whatever you want to call it, but she always told me if I'm making potatoes, cut them up small, because the smaller they are, the faster they'll cook. And that kind of goes for almost everything. Meats too. If it's a smaller piece of meat, it'll cook faster. So that's why whenever I'm making potatoes, I cut them up pretty small so that I can make sure that they cook pretty quickly. Now my chicken was doing well in the oven. I checked it a little bit earlier. So now the only thing I had to keep my eye on is the mashed potatoes, or the potatoes, they're not mashed yet. So I went ahead and I took one out to check and see if it's ready or not. So usually what I'll do is I'll take a potato out, especially a bigger piece, and I'll poke it with the fork. If it goes all the way through, then it's ready. Right now they were still really tough, so I put it back in there and I knew it needed some more time. In the meantime, my timer went off, my chicken was ready, and it looked beautiful. So I went ahead and I took it out. My first thing to do is to check and see if the chicken is cooked well. So another thing that my mom always taught me is cut the thickest part of the meat that you can. That will show you if the chicken is ready. If it's red, pink, if it's bleeding, it's not ready. Put it back into the oven, put it back into your pan, and cook it some more. So as you can see, when I cut it open, it's nice, it looks moist, there's no pink part, there's no blood, so it's ready to go. So I'm just gonna let the rest of those pieces of chicken sit there and rest so that they can soak that juice back up in. And I'm gonna go back to my potatoes and I'm gonna check my potatoes. At this point you can see I can't even get a potato out with my fork because they're just falling apart. So to me that shows me they're ready to go and I'm ready to mash them. Now, I feel like everyone does their mashed potatoes different. It's like the question of rice. How do you cook your rice? When people talk about how do you cook white rice, people come back with different answers. And I feel it's the same with mashed potatoes. So do your thing. I put butter, I put a little bit of salt and pepper, depending on what my family wants. Sometimes I'll put a little bit of garlic, sometimes I'll put a little bit of cheese, and I put a little bit of milk as well. So that's the way I make mine, and bam, they're done. All right, people, we finished. It's beautiful. We served it up on a nice clean plate. So what do we do with these leftovers now? I'll tell you what I do. I give them to my kids for lunch. I put some of that regular chicken breast with a little bit of corn that I had in the fridge, some mashed potatoes, some barbecue sauce for the chicken, and a little bit of cheese. And now it's time for the cleanup. All right, let's be honest. It's a Monday night, finished filming. It was tough. So I have a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old, and I was really concerned when it came to this recipe. I will not say that I was fearless in creating this specific recipe. Not this time, people. Sorry, folks. Sorry to disappoint you. The fearless chef was fearful. It was daunting because it was spinach. Spinach, toddlers, and a preschooler, it's very questionable. But my husband kept reminding me, you're supposed to be the fearless chef, remember? You're supposed to try new recipes, try new things. So I did. I went through with it. Came out good. Came out better than good, to be honest. So, a couple things that I would do over. The sides. I only made mashed potatoes because I wasn't sure how I was gonna like anything else with it. I wasn't sure if it was gonna be too heavy. It being just chicken breast and all the stuffing inside of it. So I just went with the starch. You never go wrong with starches, at least not in my opinion. I mean, potatoes are the best thing that ever happened to the world. Fry them, bake them, boil them, broil them, saute them. They're delicious. So I chose potatoes. If I could go back, I'd probably add another vegetable. It was good, but could be more filling in the future. So another thing that I would definitely do over is I would use fresh spinach. I think that because I used frozen spinach, it thawed a lot of it, and so my stuffing was runny, so it was running outside of the chicken, which was a little bit of a bummer, but the stuffing was delicious. I wish, and my husband kept telling me, I wish you would have made more stuffing so I could just dip my chicken in it as I eat. My son liked it. He was a little wary in the beginning. He was like, Mommy, I don't like this. But he ended up eating it. Like, I left it on his plate, and he ate it. And my daughter ate it, which I'm not surprised. She's a meat eater. She loves to eat meat. She kind of left a lot of the spinach out, but I'm not complaining. She ate good. So I was, all in all, I was happy with it. It was very good. I was surprised. I wasn't sure I was gonna like it. I'm telling you, I was scared. I was so scared, in fact, that I made extra chicken just in case no one liked it. But I went through with it, and I'm glad I did, because I think this is something, this is definitely not a staple meal for us. I don't think it'll be something that I make quite frequently, but it's definitely one of those meals that is like, ooh, it's a special occasion, let's have some stuffed chicken. That kind of deal. So let's get to the ratings, shall we? So let's get down to business. In terms of family friendliness, I would definitely get it a 3 out of 5. The only reason I'm giving it a 3 out of 5 is because I think my kids eat pretty decently. We've kind of been the type of parents to be like, you have to try it before you say you don't like it, kind of deal. So if you're not that parent, then I don't know. I don't know if you would give this to your kid. I probably wouldn't. It's too out there for them, especially at a young age. I think it's a lot of complex flavors in some ways. So family friendliness, 3 out of 5. Ease of cooking. How easy was it to cook? I would definitely give it a 4 out of 5. It was pretty simple, was not too difficult. And I would also say that it was pretty quick. We made it about 30 minutes. Of course, I was filming, so it took me a lot longer, but it would be done in about 30 minutes, easy peasy. So if you like this kind of thing, I would say it's a good weekday meal. Thank you for coming on again and watching my second video. Okay, sorry, my second video. I'm really excited about it, and I'm hoping that I can continue to bring in some new recipes. It's not about being fearless, okay? This is not about being fearless and showing everybody that I'm fearless in the kitchen. It's about proving to myself that I'm willing to go out on a limb and try new things for my family. That's the fearlessness of this. A fearless chef is challenging myself. The fearlessness doesn't come in creating the recipe. It's coming in play whenever I'm challenging myself in my mind to do things that I've never done before. So welcome to my journey, and let's get cooking. My hair is terrible. I need a haircut. Look at the light. Follow the light. It's like I'm an alien. My chair just tried to kill me. Have you ever sat in your chair and it just makes a noise and you think your life is over? Like you're just gonna fall. That's what just happened to me. We go on.